So when you look at great portrait photography, there's always three things at play that determine how good an image is: the photographer's skill, the camera used, and the way the photo was edited. Now, a good image can be ruined by bad editing, and with portrait photography, I have found that typically less is usually more, especially when it comes to retouching. In this week's video, I'd like to go over a few Lightroom editing techniques that I use to edit my portrait photos, which are all super easy and will have you nailing every portrait shoot that you do. We're going to go over a basic workflow that I'd use for portrait photography, and I'll also tell you a few things that you should not do as well. So be sure to watch until the end of the video and be sure to subscribe to see more great photography content. All right, so welcome to Lightroom, and how good does this photo look? It didn't always look like this. So watch what happens when we press reset. This is what the photo looks like without any of the edits that we're going to go through in this video. What if I told you that it was actually remarkably easy to get your image looking like this? It's a few simple steps and we're going to cover everything in this video today. So let's get started, and we'll start by resetting this image back to square one again. And this was shot on the Lumix 50 S Pro 1.4, which is a absolutely unbelievable lens, and the review for that will be coming next week. So first thing I like to do, you need to make sure that your white balance is balanced. Now in this image here, because I was shooting with auto white balance, I think the white balance looks okay, but just for an example, let's set it to like a fluorescent, for example. That's obviously way too blue. So the way you balance your white balance is you just use your sliders over here. So you've got your temperature and your tint. And just for a quick little reference, just to make life a little bit easier for you, if you actually look at a color wheel, and I promise this isn't just me grasping at straws to try to use my graphic design degree, but a color wheel can actually really help you when you're editing photos by allowing you to see which colors cancel each other out. So if you look at a color wheel, you'll notice that colors that are opposite each other are considered complementary colors. So like red and green, for example, will cancel each other out. So if you've got a particularly red image, or if the skin tone, for example, is particularly red, introducing green into the image, whether that is through the tint slider, or in the midtones, for example, or the highlights or the shadows. So just depending on where you've got that green cast, introducing a complementary cast will actually clean that up. So for this image here, we've got, it's obviously very, very blue at the moment because it's set to a really weird white balance. So let's just try it. So we'll bring this back to, as you can see, once we bring it up to the yellow side, it starts to get a little bit warmer. So this is the first thing that I would be doing, is I'd be just balancing my white balance. Now, after the white balance has been balanced successfully, what I would do is I would apply a preset. So I recently released my second preset pack, and it's just right here. So we've got effortless, effortless light, nightwalker, nostalgia, timeless, and tropical. So that's 6 different presets that you can use. I've actually got a discount as well, so you can get 25% off if you sign up to my newsletter, and the link is in the description. What we'll do is we'll pick a preset that we like. I think for this image, I think effortless would probably look really, really nice. It looks good on pretty much everything. That's why it's called effortless. So now we've applied the preset, and I think here we need to reduce the exposure just a little bit because I think it's a little bit too bright. And then, okay, that's starting to look pretty good. And then we can actually play around with our little tone curve here as well. So as you can see, once we bring down the shadows, it obviously makes the image a little bit darker. Now, so say for example that we like the way that the background looks, but we want the model, in this case Chloe, to look a little bit more warm. Now, what you can do actually, and this is something that I was watching this video by a fellow photography YouTuber, Gerard Needham. He made a really good Lightroom tips video where there's this tool in the masking tab. So if we just go over to that, it's called the People Masking tool, and I'm so embarrassed that I have actually never seen this tool before, but this is like a complete lifesaver. So you basically you press on this, it comes up with the person, and then you can actually select various parts to mask out. So we'll do face and body skin, and then we'll press create mask, and then we can turn this off because right now she looks like Red Skull. And then as you can see with this, we now actually have full control over, sorry, we'll turn this back on again. We'll just turn off the overlay. Here we've actually got full control over the actual color of the skin itself. So here what we can do is we can obviously change the temperature. So if we want to warm up our skin a little bit, we can do that. Alternatively, we can also use the point color tool, which is another really, really useful tool that I like to use. So if we just press on this, as you can see, once you select one area, you can actually move the point color tool sort of to the left. As you can see, that makes the skin a little bit more pink, and then to the right. So that's actually shifting the saturation. Now, it would really depend on the image itself. If you need to sort of change the cast, again, refer to your color wheel and sort of see what you need to add into the image. But as you can see, once we bring it up and down, it'll actually increase the saturation of the color as well. So if you want to bring it all the way up, you can see it makes it much more tanned, but I think we're going to just leave it as it was. So that looked quite good, I think. And I just also like to talk about this tab over here. So we've got the color mixer tab, and we've also got the color grading tab. Now, so you've got the hue, saturation, and luminance, and you've also got the point color tool. So I showed you the point color tool before when we were just adjusting her skin, but this would allow us to basically change anything in the image. So if you're looking at this photo and you're like, you know what, I feel like the green needs to be more green, you can grab your little eyedropper tool, select a green area, and then you can actually move it. So if you move it up, it makes it more saturated. If you bring it down, it desaturates it. Now, with this, you know, left to right, it changes your hue. So if you want to make it really yellow and you want to make it more sort of autumn vibes, you can do that as well. And that, as you can see, is giving us a really nice kind of almost like a fall orangey kind of color. But I quite like the way that the grass looks like when it's green like that. So as we put more red in, she becomes more sort of pinky in color. And then we can go back and we can we'll just turn that all off. But yeah, and lumiance is another thing as well. When you turn up your lumiance, if we turn up the orange, as you can see, that makes her a lot more fairer skin. And if we bring it down, that does make her a little bit more tanned, although that looks like a really bad fake tan job. So we won't do that. We'll turn it back to normal. But yeah, so that's just, you know, the color mixer tool and your point color tool. These are really, really crucial and really, really good tools that you can use. And you should use in order to nail portraits every single time. Okay, so once that's done and we're happy with that, what we can actually do is we can move on to the retouching section. Now, the retouching section, again, we'll use just because we've made this mask, so we'll stick with it. This is another tip that I got from Gerard, but one sort of way that you can retouch the skin, and I'll elaborate a little bit more on what you can do later on, just to sort of polish it off a little bit better. But what we can do here is we can actually go down to our texture tab in the effects section with the mask selected on the person, and we can bring this down to around about -20, and then the clarity we can bring this down to probably around about, I would say maybe -5 or so. That looks pretty good. And now if we go out of this and we zoom in, as you can see, it's made quite a nice difference to removing some of the blemishes that's on her skin. But what I'll show you is, if you want to be a little bit careful with this, because if you go all the way down with the texture, you don't want that super airbrushed look. So I find that around probably 20 is probably a good area to go. Now, that looks quite good, I would say. However, I still think there are some things that we need to fix up here. And the good thing about Lightroom, thankfully, is that while you could go into Photoshop and do this, it's a massive pain in the ass to do it that way. So instead, we're going to go into the remove tool right here. So that's just Q on the keyboard. And we're going to get rid of these little lines under her eyes and just sort of clean up the face just a little bit more. Now, you've got 3 tools to do this. So you've got your little eraser. And what the eraser does is it actually uses generative AI to basically fill in the content around. So this is really, really good for, and I'm just going to real quick, just because I think on this photo here, that's not really a good example. But if we go to this one here, this photo of Rebecca, let's say, we wanted to use generative AI and we don't like this rock in the background, right? What you can do is you can use that the generative tool here, and just go like that, and that, oh, hang on, maybe raise the opacity a little bit on that. And as you can see, that pretty much very, very cleanly gets rid of it. And you can see in the background here, I've actually used this to get rid of some people in the background as well. Now, this is good if you are, again, getting rid of items in the background, people, stuff like that. It's very, very powerful for that. It's also really good for hair. I like this rock though, so we're gonna put it back. So if we go back to our photo of Chloe real quick, I don't like using this for under eye areas because I find that it doesn't look very, very clean. Then you've got the heal tool. Now, the heal tool is probably my favorite tool and is the one that I'd recommend you use for most of this kind of skin retouching. And then you've got the clone stamp tool. So the clone stamp tool is gonna be used if you want to directly copy something in an image. So if you've got a nice cloud or a nice tree or something that you'd like to put somewhere else, that's what you would use the clone tool for. But we're going to just go into the heal tool. And then you want to set your opacity to around about 50 to 60%. I would say don't go too high with the opacity because I'll show you what happens. So, okay, so if we go opacity maximum and we sort of highlight the area under her eye here, and then it'll just randomly pick an area. But what you can do is you can grab your selection and you can bring it down. I like to bring it down just below the eye. And as you can see at 100, if we get rid of that, as you can see, it looks good, but I think it looks a little bit too over edited, which is one thing that you really want to avoid because when you over edit your photos, they don't look fantastic. So I like to set it to about 60% opacity. And as you can see, the line is still sort of there, but it's much cleaner now. So we do it again on the other side. Like so. And that is looking quite good. So, as you can see, I think that looks already quite nice. Now, there are little things as well. So like, for example, if you wanted to get rid of this hair on her face as well, we could do that too. So we just go like this. And now with hair, obviously you'd want to set your opacity a little bit higher because you're actually trying to get rid of it. So with creases, I like to set, like with creases and like wrinkles and stuff like that, I like to set the opacity to around 60 to 70%. But if I'm getting rid of, and as you can see here, this is one of the problems with using the heal tool. It's now sort of grabbed that and it doesn't look very, very good. So here is where we can try use the generative AI tool instead and see how that performs and see if that does a little bit of a better job. So, and as you can see, that has done a pretty bang on job of getting rid of that little line of hair. So the generative tool, the remove tool is good for, I would say, as you can see, when you bring it too close to the edge, that's what will sometimes happen. So you do have to bring it out a little bit and then it'll usually fix itself up. Now, one other tip that I can give you for doing this kind of retouching, when you are drawing with your little heal tool here, be really, really careful to not hit the eyelashes. So you want to go just below the eyelashes, otherwise it'll cut the eyelashes off and then it'll look very, very unnatural. You want to kind of go along the natural creases of the eye itself. So once this is done, and as you can see, I think that's starting to look quite good. So if we go before, so that's with no preset, no retouching, nothing, and then that is with. As you can see, I think that looks quite nice. Now, one more thing that I probably want to do is I want to just maybe bring the exposure down just a little bit more because I think it's maybe a little bit too bright. Now for the final step. Actually, you know what? Hang on. There's like a little thing here that we can get rid of. Just a little line on her face as well. Perfect. Okay, that looks quite good. Now, the final step that you can do, and you can probably do this step at the start. You don't have to do it at the very end. But cropping your image. And I think a lot of people underestimate how powerful cropping an image can be. And just for an example, let me show you. So this photo here, right? This photo already looks quite good, but if we go and uncrop it, so if we press the R button, you can see how wide of a shot this was. So, I mean, come on, look at this. Like that is like, if I go and just reset this to original, you can see the people in the background, but also look at how much more space there was. And this image doesn't look very nice, but when you crop it in, and you get rid of the people in the background, it can really, really like save an image that might have been pretty much, you know, useless in the past. Now, with this image here, I don't think you need to crop it as much. And another tip for cropping, if you just hold down Shift and Alt, it'll actually, while you crop, it'll crop from the inside in. This is a really, really good way to keep your aspect ratio. Because if you don't hold that down, what ends up happening is you get this weird, you know, it's not fun for anyone. So Alt and Shift and you hold it down and then it'll crop that in. So I reckon I like to leave not that much space above the head. So I reckon maybe around about here, but I do like the look of those trees in the background. So I don't want to go too crazy with it. But as you can see, I feel like that's a really, really nice photo. It's edited quite nicely. That didn't take very long at all. It's really only 3 steps. 3 or how many steps? 4 steps. So, you know, balance the colors in the image, make sure everything looks good, throw a preset on, the one that you like, or the one that suits the atmosphere best as possible. Do a little bit of light retouching if you have to. You don't have to do the retouching. You can leave it unretouched if you'd like. I personally have always done this. It's a very, very quick workflow. Another thing that I can actually show you as well, just a little bonus tip. So one of the things that you should do as well, once you've got an image looking the way that you like, so if we go and we find 0. Okay, so if we go into the library and we find the image itself, as you can see, there were a few other photos that we did in the same area. Now, you know, you could go through and individually edit each photo, but that would take way too long. So instead what we can do is we can go and select, hold down Shift, and select sort of photos nearby, and then Control if you want to add another selection. And then you press the sync button over here. Go onto your develop tab first. Press the sync button over here. I would say, unless you're really confident that the white balance and the exposure will be the same, turn them off. Otherwise, you can leave them on, and then we'll go synchronize. And now that we've synced them, actually, I think, you know what, we actually will sync the white balance with that one because, and there you go. Look at that. That's starting to look really nice. And yeah, and that's just how you save yourself a lot of time. And my God, look how good that lens is. That 51.4 is just, I mean, they say it's the best 50mm in the world, and I can definitely see it. It's just incredible. Yeah, wow, my God, so good. It's a massive lens, though. It's so bloody heavy. And then, yeah, that's how I edit a photo. That's sort of my Lightroom workflow. Again, I'll show you a little before and after. So if we turn the preset off and everything and sort of, you know, that's how I get it looking the way it does. So definitely be sure, to check out my preset pack, the second one that I've just released. It builds on a lot on what I developed in the first pack, and I'm super excited for you guys to try it out, and I can't wait to hear what you guys think of it. And that is how I edit my portrait photos in Lightroom. So I hope this video has been helpful. If you liked it, be sure to give it a like, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. Have a great day.